Well, hello. We're talking about dimensioning our drawings, and I wanted to start by just showing you some engineering spec drawings so that you can kind of see where this is all leading eventually down the line. Now, these aren't thumbnail drawings. These are drawings that have been made in like CAD programs. But can you see how this drawing is showing us all three sides? This is called a multi-view drawing. It's showing us all three sides of some part of like a little piece to something. And on the top view, the front view, and the right view, you also have what we call dimensioning lines that are specifying the width or the height of something. I'm going to just kind of click through a couple of these. They can get pretty complex. They can be pretty exciting. So I just did a search for, what did I search for? Let's see if I can show you. Engineering drawing, to give you an idea about kind of where this is headed eventually with engineering and project lead the way. But for now, we're going to focus on just dimensioning this. So here's what's important. I need a ruler, and I need the thing that I drew, not the drawing, the thing that I drew, because this is what I'm going to be measuring. This is what I'm going to be measuring. We definitely want to get a minimum of 3 dimensions on this object, because this is not just a 2-dimensional thing. This doesn't just have width and depth, but it also has height, right? It's also kind of tall. So we need to show all of those things. I'm going to start by dimensioning from here to here on my object. I want to kind of get this information. And so what I want to begin by doing is on my drawing, kind of showing that width. In fact, I think I want it to go this way. Sorry, I did that too quickly. So I'm measuring from the bottom of my remote to the top of my remote. I'm measuring from the bottom of my remote to the top of my remote. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling out a line that's kind of showing that depth from the bottom of my remote to the top of my remote. And I'm going to bring my ruler over to it, and it's a little tricky because it's a little curved, but it's pretty close. And I definitely want to line it up. I'm trying to do this in such a way that we're in focus. I want to line it up with that hatch mark, not with the end of my object, but with that first hatch. And then I see that my remote is ending right there, right? So it's not quite an inch. If I said that this were an inch tall, that would not be precise. It's not quite an inch. So I need to count how much this is. I can tell that this is a 1/16 inch of a ruler. I can see that in my mind real quickly because I see that's divided into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 mini sections in here, and then I just skip count 4, 8, 12, 16. And I see that that's lining up. Let me kind of make sure that I have it right. Yep. It looks like it's ending right here or right here. It's hard to say. With a measurement like this, either one of those would be precise enough for this assignment. So I can say that this is 4, 8, 12 sixteenths of an inch, or if I reduce that fraction, 3/4 of an inch. Or if I'm convinced that it's going to this line, I would call that 4, 8, 12, 13 sixteenths of an inch, right? So this is some of the material that was covered in that tutorial. I know that it can be hard to kind of get our head around reading these rulers, but if what I just did then is confusing to you, I want you to go back and do that PLTW tutorial again. It's really valuable. It's so valuable. And so you might need to review that a second time. I'm going to go with this measurement. I think that that's the most accurate from the angle that I have, I think. It's kind of hard to see it in here and hold it for you. So then I'm going to, these are my dimensioning lines. They come off from the side. And then this is what I do, guys. I bring up two little lines like this. And then I put my measurement. I need numbers and I need a unit. I know that's blurry. So I am saying, here are my dimensioning lines. They're coming off of my object. And then I'm going to draw a little line up and down. And I'm saying the distance from this line to this line is 3/4 of an inch. A number, for me, this is just a fraction because it's less than 1 inch. And then this little quotation mark symbol, that stands for an inch. If you would rather write out the word inch, I-N-C-H, you may. If you would rather write the letters I-N, you may, right? I'm not measuring my paper. I'm measuring my object. So I've got my height. I also want to get the width of the object, right? So like how wide is it across? So I've got to think about where those lines come. And I could put them here. I kind of like the idea of doing that. I think that's going to look good. Or I could put them off the back. Maybe I'm going to put them off the back here so that I don't overlap myself very much. So I know I'm measuring from that line to that line. So again, I'm just going to do some extension lines because I don't want it to be all cluttered. I'm extending out. And then I've got these little dimensioning lines, just like that. Am I measuring the paper? No, I'm measuring my object. So I'm lining it up with the hatch, and I'm reading it all the way over. And let's see what we have. Oh, that's not helpful. I'm trying to make it not blurry. That's helpful. So you see that I have this edge lined up right here. I definitely have a full inch. I don't quite have 2 inches, so I need to be precise. This is ending right here. Now, I do have a couple of buttons extruding, so I'm going to ignore those for now because I'm just measuring the remote control width exactly. So let me line that up. That looks like it is 1.5 inches across. So 1 inch, and then I'm coming all the way to this line here. That's 4/8. 8 out of 16 parts is the same as 1/2. 8 goes into 16 2 times. So I'm just reducing my fraction here. So 1 1/2 of an inch, right? So I would write that here. 1 1/2 inch. And let me make that not blurry for you. 1 1/2 inch. And then there's a third dimension that I need to get. All right, let's stop and think about what would it be. It's not this, because this is just as tall in the back as it is up here in the front. I know how wide this is. I know how tall it is, but I don't have this length measured yet, right? I don't have this one. So that's from the end to the beginning, right? So I'm going to think about, I could share that dimensioning line here, and then I could bring this one out. Sometimes I think that that makes it easier to see a little bit. I'm going to kind of go ahead and get that going. Oh, I probably went too far. I'm going to just keep that line because I drew it nice and dark. This is what happens when my dog is asking if he can go to the bathroom, and it's very distracting to me. So I'm sorry, but my dog has needs. All right, so now I'm thinking about the end of this to the end of the other side, right? So I'm going to line that up right there, and I'm going to the other end. Come here, Hasty. Do you want to cry on the camera for everybody? Come on, Hastings. Yeah. You're okay. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. I'm trying to work here, Hastings. My goodness. All right. Lining up to the end. Get in the camera. It's hard to do it in a way that you can see everything that I'm seeing. So coming to the end here, this is just shy of 5.5 inches. So I definitely know it's all the way at that 5. If, you know, for you, for me, calling that 5.5 is about right, right? So I see 4, 8. 8 out of 16 parts is the same as 1/2, right? So I'm going to call this 5 1/2 inches. Now, this is level 3 work. If you want level 4 work, you're going to throw in a couple of little dimensions for me, because guess what? In real life, on a real engineering sketch, we'd also have like the length of that tab dimensioned. We'd also realize that all of these buttons are a little raised, and maybe have that height dimensioned of those little raised buttons. Maybe not every single one, because they're all going to have that same height, but I could definitely get a little bit of information about how high off of my remote those are coming. It might just be 1/16 of an inch. They're not much, but it's there, you know, like there's some depth there. So if you're looking for a level 4 score with this, I'm looking for a couple things. I want a clean thumbnail. And in addition to the 3 main dimensions, you're going to give me a few more. Stop and think about how tricky it would be to dimension this. We're having to think about the width of each of these little pieces. We're having to think about the length of this section, the length of the whole section, maybe the length of from here to here, the width of the tool itself on that circle. So sometimes going with a simple object, especially as we're starting out with this, matters. But we definitely have to have at least 3 sides dimensioned. If I only did this from the top view and I did it 2-dimensional, if I was just like, this is just a 2D thing, and I said it's this tall and it's this wide, well, I've missed the depth. So we've got to draw it at an angle so that we can get these different measurements. So this is what we're looking at, guys. I want dimensioning lines and extension lines, and I want to be sure that your numbers are nice and clear and that you've got your units for me. So if it's inches, you may, focusing. If we're dimensioning in inches, then this is appropriate, the word inch or the letters IN. All right, so either one of those symbols will work. All right, I look forward to seeing what you make. Please email me if you have some questions. And if reading the ruler is still very tricky, go back and review the tutorial or reach out to me and I'll do a couple sessions with you and help out. All right, take care. Are you entertained at how long it takes me to figure out how to turn this off?